apriyaha, unfavor, dveshyaha, hated, upekshaha, neglected, eva, indeed, va, or, tata api, still, bhaktam, with his devotees, bhajate, he reciprocates, jatha, as they are, tata, accordingly, suradrumaha, a heavenly desire tree, jadvat, just as, upashitaha, taking shelter of, artha, desire benefits, daha, giving. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Lord has no favorite and no dearmost friend, nor does he consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or fit to be neglected. All the same, he lovingly reciprocates with his devotees in whatever manner they worship him, just as trees of heaven fulfill the desires of whoever approaches them. Purport. The Lord says something similar in the Bhagavad Gita 9:29. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyustina priyaha je bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi te shuchapyaham. Quote, I envy no one, nor I am partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend and is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya was hard as a thunderbolt for those who envy him, and as soft as a rose for those who understood his divine mission. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Brahmapada Swami. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Natasya Kaschit Daita Sruhitamo Nacha Priyodvashya Upeksha Eva Va Tathapi Bhaktam Bhajate Yatha Tatha Suradrumo Jadvat Upashritor Tada. The Supreme Lord has no favorite and no dearmost friend, nor he consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or fit to be neglected. All the same, he lovingly reciprocates with his devotees in whatever manner they worship him, just as trees of heaven fulfill the desires of whoever approaches them. It's a very extraordinary verse, and it highlights this quality of Krishna that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur considers the crest jewel of all the qualities of Krishna. So we know that Krishna has unlimited magnificent qualities manifested in full. But this one is considered a crest jewel of all these qualities, this particular quality. And it's called Bhakta Vaksalya. Bhakta Vaksalya. That Krishna is very lovingly inclined or very lovingly disposed to his devotees. And this particular quality is also highlighted in the Bhagavad Gita, in this very beautiful, important, and encouraging verse that is quoted in the purport of the Bhaktivedanta purpose, that highlight this quality, that the Lord have this special reciprocation that is quite extraordinary, because although the whole principle is framed in this apparently contradiction, that the Lord, because he is Atmarama, he's fully satisfied, he doesn't need, he's independent. His quality of being completely independent and self-sufficient is there. This is described basically as a principle or as a quality of the absolute truth. Jammadyasya jatambayat itarastas chatarsu abhigyaswara. So these qualities of being the source of everything, the source of everything from the creation to the maintenance to the destruction of this whole cosmic manifestation. And he is independent, fully cognizant of everything, and independent and fully cognizant. So he doesn't need anything. He is fully satisfied. So therefore, he doesn't have a favorite. He doesn't have enemies. He doesn't despise anything. He's equal to all. He doesn't neglect. He doesn't particularly, he doesn't have any of these type of dualities. He's equally disposed to all living entities. But at the same time, in the same breath, Krishna says, but those who's worshiping him with devotion, he have this very special treatment too. So in one sense, he's very inclined to his devotees, and then these qualities called Bhakti, that's what one of his name is Bhakta Vatsal. He's very kind and very inclined, very favorably inclined to his devotees. He reciprocates with the devotees. Now, appears to be a contradiction, but it's not a contradiction, because that benefit is open to anyone. The acharyas give us the example of the sun. Like right now, it's a sunny day, and we can feel the heat of the sun and the light, and we can experience the light of the sun. And it's there for all living entities. But if you choose to actually sort of turn away from the sun and go into one dark corner on the, some cover, you choose to be in a cave that is full of darkness, is not the fall of the sun. At any moment, you can choose to get out of that cave and experience the sun, experience the warmth and the life-giving energy of the sun. So that mercy of Krishna is for everyone. That mercy of Krishna is part of our essence. Is something that is already in us. And Krishna declares that in the Bhagavad Gita, is Shruhidam Sarvabhutanam. All living entities, he is not just the best friend, but the best of intimate friends. Now that's quite something, because, we have different levels of friendships. But an intimate friends, that's very rare. We're lucky if we have one or two intimate friends, through our life, right? Few intimate friends that you can actually be completely open and reveal yourself completely without any type of protections or things like that. Intimate friends. So Krishna declares this, that for all living entities, he's the most confidential and intimate friend. The most, that our best well-wisher. So it is not surprising that this verse appears in the most confidential chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the 9th chapter, that give us entrance. This most confidential chapter is because it gives us entrance into the heart of Krishna, which is, as a premise, something completely mesmerizing, because we're talking about God. And Krishna is very transparent when it comes to revealing his heart and make it available to all through his devotees. Because it is explained that bhakti is something that is very rare. It's the most rare thing. It's the most rare because bhakti is the key to enter into the most intimate space of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to enter his heart. And therefore, bhakti is so powerful that that type of devotion and love is able to control Krishna. Krishna becomes controlled by that bhakti, by that love. So therefore, he doesn't give that so freely. And that's also conditional, because we know that in his most magnanimous form of Lord Chaitanya, he goes out and gives it freely to anyone, regardless of qualification and regardless of even if you want it or not, he still gives, which is something quite extraordinary. But the media that Krishna delivers that is through his devotees. Lord Chaitanya delivers through the Sankirtan mission, his Sankirtan devotees. Of all of them, the chief Sankirtan devotee of Lord Chaitanya is Lord Nityananda. And he gave Lord Nityananda the task to carry that Sankirtan mission So Lord Nityananda and Srila Haridas Thakur will go door to door and start to bring Krishna consciousness bhakti to all, as Lord Chaitanya commanded. So it's quite amazing principle, and I'm going to read the commentaries of our wonderful Vaishnava Acharyas, specifically of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Jiva Goswami, and Srila Sanatana Goswami. The purpose are extraordinary, the commentaries, and it gives more entrance into this amazing concept. Because when we read the verse, I find that, the verse in the Bhagavad Gita is quite amazing. We always study that verse and feel very encouraged. That when we approach Krishna with some sincere devotion, Krishna will reciprocate, will accept it and will reciprocate. Our acharyas, assure us of that. But more than that, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that this type of confidential knowledge, the confidential knowledge that we're receiving is the confidential knowledge of devotional service, which is the king of all knowledge, the king of all secrets, and is the king of all type of religious practices, because it gives us an experience, a direct experience, pratyakshanam bhagavan dharmyam. It gives us this direct experience of the absolute truth. So Krishna reciprocates with each one of us, regardless, externally may appear like this and may appear like that, it may be this little much devotion that it doesn't matter. Krishna doesn't see that, because it is said here that he does not consider anyone undesirable, despicable, or to be neglected. He accepts everyone. What to speak when anyone expresses some devotion? Krishna reciprocates. So that's quite extraordinary. It's quite extraordinary. So this is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now, yesterday I was reading these commentaries, and especially Srila Jiva Goswami. It gets technical, and it gets very subtle, and he touches in this apparent discrepancy that Krishna declares as equal, but at the same time declares that he is inclined to his devotees. So it appears that he's contradicting himself, but he's not. And our Vaishnava Acharyas, they get into, going deeper into that apparent contradiction, and also, entering again, giving us a little more understanding and entrance into Krishna's heart, which I find quite fantastic, amazing. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, quote, "But the Supreme Lord should be equal to all at all times. How is it possible that he should show a special friendship to some?" End of quote. Quote, "Though Krishna is neither dear friend or enemy of anyone, he responds to his devotees. This is shown in the statement, Samoham Sarvabhuteshu, etc. End of quote. And also, according to the type of worship, Krishna responds accordingly. As the verse says, Ye yata mam prapadyante. End of quote. It is just as, according to the amount of surrender to kalpa vriksha, one gets a corresponding bestowal or result. As there is no discrepancy if the kalpa vriksha does not give fruit to a person who does not take shelter of it. So there is no discrepancy if the Lord does not give friendship to those who do not take shelter of him. However, whereas the Lord is dependent upon his devotees, the kalpa vriksha is not dependent on those who take shelter of it. Therefore, according to devotion, the Lord shows either friendship, enmity, or neutrality. The Lord showed friendship to Ambarish, and to envious Durvasa, he showed hatred and indifference. So, the explanation, I was quoting like the example of the sun. So the mercy of the Lord, the friendship of the Lord is there for all of us. It's already there. It's part of the makeup of the spirit soul. Again, Shruhidam Sarvabhutanam. He is that intimate friend to all. However, if we choose by our free will not to take shelter of the Lord, to neglect him, or not to consider, not to look for his kindness and his friendship, then he reciprocates. It's natural. It's a natural arrangement. But the wonderful thing is that regardless, he may not he may leave you alone because that's what you desire. But he doesn't leave you alone. It's like a parent. I don't know, sometimes you see that with parents, that they want to encourage the child to develop, sort of self, confident and being able to function. So they appear to leave the child alone to run, freely, but they're always keeping the little side of the eye, just looking at the child. So the Lord is sitting in each one of us, each living entity's heart, as a witness, waiting there. As super soul, he's there, always accompany the living entity, regardless of what condition by the free will of the living entity is get put. The Lord is always there, waiting for that opportunity, not disrupting the desires of the living entity, but he's there at all time waiting for that opportunity. So therefore, he's equal to all. He's just a very thoughtful, supremely thoughtful and kind. He doesn't abandon us, even when we don't even, pay attention to anything. So it's quite wonderful. Srila Jiva Goswami, quote, embracing and speaking together as friends are human actions. How is it proper for the Lord to do this, since the Lord's desires are already fulfilled and he is neutral to all beings? End of quote. A person becomes the object of affection Daita or Priya, because of his good qualities, and becomes an object of dislike, Apriya, because of his faults. Another person cannot be classed as either, since he is not attracted to seeing good qualities or faults in others. He does good acts for others. He becomes an object of gratitude. Sruhittamaha. The opposite, if a person who tries to harm you, he becomes the object of hatred. Dveshaha. Another person neither benefits nor cause harm. Seeing everything as one, he is the object of indifference. Upekshaha. That is true. The Lord does see people in terms of good qualities, bad qualities, good acts, or bad acts, or indifference. The negative na should be understood for all 5 items. So na is saying he does that not. It's a negative. The word cha also be connected to sruhittama. So in this case, the 2 words comes in the verse. So natasya kaschi daita sruhittamo, and then nacha priyo dvesha upeksha eva cha. So if you see the word by word, natasya, so he does not have, and nacha, nor, so is from that translation that the Lord have no favorites and no dearmost, nor does he consider anyone undesirable. So that's what Srila Jiva Goswami is highlighting here. The word eva should be connected with bhaktam, since it does not have meaning with the word next. So, sorry. The word eva should be connected with bhaktam, since it does not have meaning with the words next to it. So the word eva was translated as indeed. So indeed gets connected to bhaktam. So it's like is reaffirming that the Lord indeed he reciprocates with the bhakti of the devotees. The Lord responds to only the devotees. The word ba should be connected with the objects of indifference. Thus the Lord does not treat anyone as favor or the best friend of anyone, nor does he treat them as an enemy, nor does he treat anyone as indifferent. Though he does not treat anyone in these ways, he responds to the devotees. And though he does not treat people as friend, enemy, or neutral, he does not respond to the non-devotee. He makes his appearance according to the mood in which they worship. He comes under their control. Aham bhakta paradhino, he ashwa tantra ivadvija, sadhu bhir grashta hridayo, bhaktair bhakta jana priya. Quote, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a famous verse in the Ambarish Maharaj session when Durvasa Muni was being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra, and he came to Lord Vishnu to serve six shelter or 6 release. He been released from the punishment of Sudarshan. So Srimad Bhagavatam 9.463, O Brahmana, I am completely under the control of my devotees, Lord Vishnu speaking. I am not at all indifferent. My heart is controlled by my pure devotees. What to speak of my devotees? Even those who are devotees of my devotees are very dear to me. The extraordinary quality of the Lord. Again, like I say, of all, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, of all the qualities of the Supreme Lord, this quality of Bhakta Vatsalya is the crest jewel. He becomes merciful because of the relationship of bhakti. And by his mercy, he falls under their control and recognizing them as the greatest friends, embrace them. The Lord does not consider one an enemy, but he becomes inimical to those who hate his devotees. This is the conclusion. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyastina priya ye vayanti tumam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. I am equal to all living beings. I do not hate anyone, nor do I favor anyone. To whatever extent a person worships me with devotion, I'm attached to him in a similar way. Sadabo, this is another famous verse, the following that Srila Jiva Goswami quotes from that same chapter in the Bhagavatam of Ambarish Maharaj. Sadabo hridayam mahyam sadhunan hridayam tvaham mat anyate na jananti nahantebhyo manak api. Quote, the pure devotee is in my very heart. What pains him pains me. I am the heart of the pure devotee. What pleases him pleases me. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know more than they do. End of quote. It has previously been shown that the Lord it has previously been shown that for the Lord not to show mercy to his devotees will be a fault. Thus, unkindness and cruelty are rejected in the Lord, since his heart is untouched by material qualities or faults and is touched by bhakti. Particulars can be found in Bhakti Sandarbha and Paramatma Sandarbha. In the Moksha Dharma, it is said, Tasmat pasyanti padapas, tasmach jiganti padapa. Higher than these are the trees which see. Higher than the trees, sorry, I read it again. Higher than these are the trees which see. Higher than these are the trees which smell. Being an expansion of the devatas in full consciousness, the desired tree consciously responds to the person who consciously prays for something. However, without consciously desiring, through the Lord's embrace, etc., all mercy is manifest to fulfill all desires. The desired tree's mercy responds with one blessing to one who requests. Is quite technical, a little confusing, at least for my level, but you can, at least the language, the uses of the language, besides that English is not my principal language. So, but the principle we can understand is the same principle that, you know, the example of the desired trees is given in the verse today. That just like a desired tree, the Lord also is referred like a kalpa vriksha that it fulfills desires as you approach him. So what is explained here, one has to be conscious of a particular desire and one should consciously approach for the particular desire a kalpa vriksha tree. And the kalpa vriksha tree will reciprocate. But if one is not conscious, then the kalpa vriksha tree won't fulfill the desire. So similarly, one have to consciously approach the Lord for his shelter, and the Lord will reciprocate accordingly. So they have to be that sort of conscious choice to actually render some service to the Lord and approach him with the desire to serve him. And the Lord reciprocates accordingly. I read Srila Sanatana Goswami, who also similar and goes into other details, which is fantastic. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments, the Lord does not consider a person. He is indifferent. The word ba indicates a side glance. No one is dear since he is equal to all as Lord of the universe. Even so, he favors the devotees. He fulfills their desires, but not the desires of others, just as the desired tree. Serve very nicely, give results. By giving to those who take shelter and not giving to those who do not take shelter, there is no discrepancy. There is no fault in the Lord for fulfilling the devotee's desires. He gives result for bhakti, or the Lord responds properly to the devotees, like the desired tree, or the Lord responds to the devotees in an appropriate manner, or in this world, by friendly service, someone does not become dear to one, or by lending assistance or by birth, a person does not become the best friend. The dearest or best friend, which is permanent, arises naturally. In other words, trying to understand all this part of Srila Sanatana Goswami, that to become the best friend, the most intimate friend, that is something that is not necessarily because you do a friendly service. Not necessarily because you lend assistance and then, you become grateful and, someone respond to you with gratitude and, and there's a connection. Not because, so any of these things not necessarily give you entrance to this intimacy. This is something that have to manifest naturally. It's something that actually becomes, is a matter of the heart. Because one may do good just because of, in many situations, it's to do with a concept that I have of myself. And I consider myself good, and then I'm going to do a good act. And because I do a good act, then I'm going to receive some good results. So it's all, as long as things are self-centered, then it remains, it doesn't go really deep. There is something, self-centeredness doesn't allow anything to go deep. because it always goes back to my interests. But then there's a possibility that when we start to become conscious by a deeper relationship, when the commitment, when something grows naturally, that you actually develop this deeper love for someone, then you start, and basically what that allows is that the reality of someone else start to become also part of your reality. In other words, I become conscious of someone else's reality. So it's not just centered on me, but it's also centered on the other person. And the more we go into center everything into the object of our love, then that becomes, then it becomes very deep. The relationship becomes very deep. So that's something that have to happen naturally, and that's how I understood this part. Maybe someone else have, some realizations of this. So where we were. Yes. The dearest or best friend, which is permanent, arises naturally. The Lord also do not become friend of enemy just by a person's friendly or inimical acts. He becomes to the friend or enemy to please the devotee and benefit everyone. Without showing favor, he must be indifferent. No, he is not indifferent. Being most merciful, he acts for the benefit of all jivas. The word na is repeated to emphasize his lack of favoritism. He responds to person who serve him in a friendly manner, bhaktam. He shows affection even to those who may not be dear, who have not shown acts of dearness previously. So, even if we haven't ever connected to Krishna, is somehow or other we connect to him, we offer some devotion, then immediately he will respond, with affection. The desire tree responds when one takes shelter of it and makes a request. Thus the Lord will fulfill my desires, though I have taken shelter of Kamsa. This is Akrura thinking. Who should be considered an enemy, and though I perform ordinary service only? So, Vidura, not Vidura, what's his name? Akrura is thinking that although he is serving Kamsa, the Lord won't see externally that he is doing something for someone who hates him, but he will see his heart, and he will see that he is taking shelter of him, so he will fulfill his desires. Or the double negative can indicate a positive. He has beloved and friends, sometimes being treated unaffectionately, sometimes being hated, sometimes being ignored. It's like the desired trees which give to the person who simply approaches. No, he responds beyond the simple relationship. Ye tataman prapadyante, according to their surrender, I respond. Is that the meaning? No. How do you respond? As much as all men follow the path of bhakti, I respond. The more worship, the more results. I was listening to my spiritual master giving a class in which he was explaining that realizations that we have it's a very dynamic process, because according to how we purify, then the realizations will start to also sort of reveal deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So, so is Krishna reciprocating at all times by giving us deeper and deeper realization of our relationship with him. Or you do not have dear ones or friends. This express accrues misery. Without gaining the Lord's affection, his life is unsuccessful. But you do not reject anyone. Everyone is dear to you. You do not have hate. You do not hate anyone. You are not indifferent to anyone. Then how can Kamsa be killed? Will my desires not be fulfilled? You respond to the devotees. By killing Kamsa, you fulfill the desire of the devotees and no others. Or do you not have great devotees or close friends? Yes, you do. Great devotees in Vaikuntha are Garuda and others, and in Goloka, Sridham, Radha, and others. Great friends are Kashyapa or Nanda or others. He will not consider my worship, which is slight and filled with material desires. I am not dear to him because of my association with Kamsa. Still, he responds to the devotees, even if they have bad association. He is attracted to the devotion. An example is given of obtaining resolve by worship the desired tree. Thus, though I have bad association, by my impure worship, he will be merciful to me. So that's Srila Sanatana Goswami revealing Akrura's meditation and Akrura's deep realization, which is what I think is this very wonderful and encouraging understanding, and very important understanding that how kind the Supreme Personality of Godhead is, in terms of, in despite of my faults, in despite of actually whatever situation I am, with impure worship, with mixed material devotion, or mixed material desires with devotion, right? Better say, he still accept. He will accept. He will accept and he will reciprocate. So, from our side, I've finished with this. When we relate to each other, we can remember this and try to see from Krishna's perspective. From Krishna's perspective, regardless of the condition that we have externally, he will always see our devotion, and he will always accept it. So that thought is, when we relate to each other, it's important for each other to accept and respect the devotion that person have for Krishna. My wife one time was telling me about this homeless guy, African American, tall. He always looked a bit menacing externally. And the man, big guy, walked to the altar places, some items, some things, like maybe a fruit or some coins, I can't remember, something. He places in there in front of the altar. And then, does some sort of, acknowledgement of that he's bringing this to the Lord. And my wife asked him, so this is very nice that you bring something for the Lord, and say, yes, this must be done. You must bring something, like that. So that is devotion. And we may say, oh, this man is not, he's not very conscious. His circumstances are very, very difficult. However, this person is been doing, he has expressed his devotion, and there's no doubt that the Lord will accept that. So why we don't accept it? If the Lord accepts, why we reject? So these are the type of thing. Last Sunday, that crazy fellow that comes and bangs the door, and claims for prasadam? He's rude. He's a homeless guy. It's a little bit, very rude person. But Jitendra has been giving him prasadam forever. And the man is changing. Last Sunday, he was very cleanly dressed, sitting in the chair, quietly, respectfully, a little, because he's been, he's been looked like, you should not be in here. But he's sitting there waiting for his prasadam, respectfully. He didn't create a scene, and he came clean. So that's something that we have to respect, and we have to see from Krishna's perspective. So it's an important principle, I believe. Anyway, I took too much time, which I usually don't try to keep control. So I'm going to keep the questions short. Look inside there. So keep it tight, Jai Baladev Prabhu. I know for you it's important to have this time, and with all respect, I think it's very nice. But let's keep it tight. Go to the question as far as you can.
Well, I don't have a question, but thank you for your class. I just have a comment. You could expand it if you like. But you made a very wonderful points. And this is regarding the association of devotees, because you were saying Krishna is controlled by bhakti. That was the essence of your class. And there's a nice quote that says, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And we see throughout the Bhagavatam, this theme appears that there are two types of controllers. Those who controls others on the outside, like Hiranyakashipu, and those who control others on the inside, like Prahlad Maharaj. We learn from this Hiranyakashipu Prahlad story that even if we control others on the outside with our position, but we don't control others on the inside with our disposition, then we only have control in name only, but not in reality. And so like you were mentioning, Krishna is controlled by bhakti or prema. Prema haite Krishna hoy, nija bhakta vash, prema haite poi krishneta, seva sukha ras. This verse is from the Adi Leela chapter 7, verse 145. It says the same thing you were mentioning, all the quotes you were mentioning, that Krishna is the greatest of the greatest. However, he becomes submissive to even an insignificant service performed by a devotee. And what's the result? You get the mellows of devotional service, the realizations. And the reason I appreciate this point is because many things I could say, but one thing that's coming to mind is what Karuna Nidhi Prabhu told me the other day. He's taken a Mayapur Institute teacher's training course to become an authorized Bhakti Sastri teacher. And he just had his test last night at midnight. Now, the day before, he told me a very important lesson on giving the Srimad Bhagavatam and giving class of what we should not do. So this teacher's course, training course says that when a speaker is giving the Bhagavatam class, they should never look at their watch because everyone's the rasa. People think, oh, you don't give a crap of what I have to say. No, so when we're giving class, it basically says, actually, Karuna Nidhi's, the whole Mayapur Institute changed the way devotees give class. Last night, I was Karuna Nidhi's, you could say, mock student. So he was asking me questions the whole time while the students are giving the answers. So why? Because unless the interaction, that love is there, nobody listens to Bhagavatam class. And so my last point is that this is what Guru Govinda Maharaj mentions in his book, Trinada Pisuni Chain, a Lord than a straw in the street. It's a very heavy point. He says very few Vaishnavas are actually speaking Krishna Katha. What is everyone else speaking? Dharma, superficial religion, artha, how to flatter rich donors, kama, how to get money so you can gratify your sense gratification. And what's the result of not speaking Krishna Katha? You cannot tolerate. That's what he says. You know, somebody offers their gratitude for coming to Bhagavatam class, and then you complain. No, there's nobody coming to Bhagavatam. Our disposition to be, thank you, I'm glad somebody is coming to Bhagavatam class.
What's the point?
Oh, my point is this, is that if we want to attract people to Bhagavatam, then for me, there's many Shiksha gurus. My brother, just like if you want to learn garland making, go to Mother Rohini. If you want to learn how to bring people to Bhagavatam,
I'm saying if you
want to learn how to bring people to Bhagavatam, then follow an example of my brother. Now, I will give many examples of how my brother brought so many devotees to class, but you'll need a big notepad. But I'll explain that in the coming days. But if we don't want to bring people to Bhagavatam, then we should do what we do. Keep interrupting devotees, show no gratitude, and we can see that's all the devotees say. I don't feel appreciated. I just say it publicly. So if we want to have this loving relationship, we should show more gratitude and less attitude. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Karantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.